Hey everybody, I wanted to show you a quick example of how to do your Civil War uncovered. This is just one way to do it, and it's going to look a little different than the battle ones. So I'll try to explain a little bit here. I also, as you guys know, like to make things pretty. You do not have to get too hung up in the backgrounds and stuff, but I just have fun with that. I like to play around with unsplash.com. There's free high-res photos, artwork, even some from the Library of Congress. That's where I get a lot of my backgrounds. So I also like word art, but you can keep it simple. You don't have to do that stuff if you don't want to. All right. The whole bottom line is you need to give cause and effect, show change over time, not just summarize your event, but really show how it changes US history. So here's an example that I just kind of pulled together on the New York City draft riots. So what I would do is have maybe a slide or two kind of explaining the causes. So you can see what I've done there here. I've kind of given a little bit of background, right? Now, ideally, I'm hoping we can screencast these so we can hear your voice. But if not, we want to make sure that your screen is telling a story because people are going to be looking at this that don't know anything about your battle or your topic. So it doesn't have to be a million trillion bazillion words, right? In fact, please don't do that to us. Let's keep it succinct. Let's think of this almost as a short answer question on the national exam. Let's go couple it like four sentences here, four sentences there, right? Focus on the big. Focus on the big changes. That's the thing we need to take away from this. So I talked a little bit about the background here, about the racial unrest, about the fact that there had already been a lot of anti-African American feelings, especially amongst the Irish minorities living in places like New York City. That's a huge cause of this event, so I made sure to explain that. Gave a statistic here to kind of to bring it to life a little bit. Then you can see what actually happened. So the middle few slides here, I give a background on what actually happened. I included a video of this is actually coming from the BBC. It's a 3-minute video, so I would probably find a selection that I would have people look at. But this is a really great explanation that provides a good visual to show the cause and effect over that period. We're in some primary sources. So as much as you can, try to get real, right? Like try to go to the people that were there. These are obviously not photographs. We're still a little away from that. It was so chaotic. There weren't really photographs, not many photographs being taken while it was happening. Photographs in this event were happening afterwards. So had some primary sources. I have a movie trailer, not a movie trailer, but a movie clip from the movie Gangs of New York, which actually shows the riot, shows how they were targeting not only wealthy people who could buy their way out of the war, but African Americans living in New York City. So I've got that in there, make it a little more interactive. And then you want to end with a slide or two on the effects. You want to talk about long term. What does this do, right? So for the New York City draft riots, we're using this to show that racism is not limited to the southern states. Okay, that this is something that is not unique to the Confederacy. This was something that was nationwide. In fact, it made it really difficult for Lincoln to come together and pull the United States together to fight this war. I put the death toll in there, although said it's probably more than that, right? Because things weren't getting reported. There weren't accurate records of a lot of this. But we said also long term, this particular event, this particular event actually increases the resolve of African Americans to stand up and resist. And by the end of the Civil War, 10% of the Union soldiers were Black. And that's huge, right? This is huge. Lincoln actually credits them with turning the tide of the war. The other thing I think is interesting about this particular topic is it's happening while Gettysburg is happening. We all have heard about Gettysburg. Many of you maybe stopped there in 8th grade. Very rarely do we realize that Lincoln actually had to divert troops from Gettysburg 2 weeks later to New York City to put down this riot, right? So making those connections, pulling it in, showing change over time, kind of ending with a slide that really shows the effects, that's going to be the best way to do this. And then we'll figure out if we're going to be able to screencast it or if we're just going to have to go kind of interactive museum style like we did with our Jacksonian storyboards. We'll figure that out. Okay. So hopefully this will put your mind at ease. Now, if you have a battle, what you could do is you could show us some actual maps, right? Maybe you can give that tour. You can pull in some of those video clips, the interactive stuff. But again, really focus more on cause and effect. Don't go too much into like this general took 4 steps this way and blinked, right? Like that's not the kind of thing we need to know. We need to think causes. How does this fit into a broader strategy? What are the effects not just of the battle, but how does this change the tide of the war, right? That should really be everybody's last slide, is something kind of making that analysis piece, making connections, really going in depth. So hopefully this will help you as you put together your Civil War Uncovered. As always, email me with any questions. See you soon.